I had an international TV show. I think it was just the Betty Swann show. I don't have an ego, it just seems to be the recognizable thing to do.
Hello movers and shakers, and welcome to BEN, the Business and Employment News Network. I'm your host Jeanette and you are watching Women in Business, the show dedicated to profiling the unique journey of female entrepreneurship. Today, we are blessed to be sitting with a female entrepreneur who is a living testimony of the concept: do not start a business to make money, start a business to make a difference. Betty Swann is a teacher who has taught on the high school and collegiate level, an ordained minister, and a founder of 501c3 organization Betty Swann Ministries. She has made a life of teaching and training leaders on local and global scales. In 2006, Betty began a worldwide TV teaching ministry through God's Learning Channel with 150 videos, podcasts, and transcripts teaching about life. 2006 also birthed the Pennies from Heaven project, utilizing people's often overlooked pennies and pocket change to feed the world. To date, they have provided thousands of meals in 20 countries. Says Betty, "The Bible says it is more blessed to give than to receive, and I believe it. There is a joy in partnering with other people and with God to meet the needs of others. There is nothing like it." And that is evident in the fact that hundreds of thousands of lives have been changed through Betty Swann Ministries. Well, thank you for opening your home to us, Betty, sharing your story and baking us brownies.
Yeah, I'm just so glad you're here.
So we want to start with the most fascinating part of your story to me, that you actually started your ministry in the second half of your life. You spent the first half of your life doing everything from teaching to modeling, and then decided in your 60s to start with a whole new career and a global ministry.
Well, I've always had a lot of energy, always. And it just has not abated for some reason. I don't know, I have a lot. But when I was 40, I was praying about it one day and thinking about it, and I felt like it just came to me, your real ministry is not going to start until your mid-50s. And I can remember thinking, oh my gosh, I'll be an old lady. It's the way it was.
As driven as you were with your vision, how did you deal with what must have been resistance from a societal level, from family and friends, and maybe even from within?
Anybody that's ever stepped out of the pack will understand that does go with it. People trying to pull you back. And I did have that. But I did have a family that encouraged me. My husband encouraged me. My mentor was excellent at giving me wise advice. He said, "Betty, when you're starting something, plant a foot, make it steady. Plant the next foot and make it steady. Plant the next foot and make it steady, and you'll never have to back up." The overarching mission is to recognize, train up, release, and mentor leaders. However, I do a lot of benevolence. I feed people with pennies and small change. I've done that in 20 countries. We send people to school. We educate people in foreign nations. So much cheaper than in America. You can do it for like $700 a semester. And it changes a life. We just recently gave a boy some money in Kenya. He was sniffing glue and stealing purses and cell phones. Now he's going to school to become a mechanic. Educating people is really my passion. I had an international TV show. It's been amazing. I have actually had people email me in the middle of the night. I'm thinking of one lady that said, "I was so depressed, I did not want to go on with my life. And out of boredom, I turned on the TV, and there was your TV show. And it gave me hope, it lifted my spirits, it gave me wisdom, and so I'm writing you to tell you that's what your show has done for me."
Something really unique to Betty Swann Ministries is that nobody takes a salary, including yourself. How did you decide to do that, and what does that allow you to do as a company?
Some people are givers. They're just by nature, they love to give money. And I don't know, I'm not as good as my husband is, but I do love that. And I began to discover when I would go out speaking and I would get a speaker's fee, and the next thing I knew, somebody would cross my path and they would need almost that exact amount of money. And I'd just give it to them. As the years went on, I began to realize that that was God's plan for me. I'm to ask Him for the money and He will provide. But I'm not to ask people for money, and I'm not to take a salary. And no one on my staff takes a salary. Everybody feels like their job is so perfect for them, and they have such a heart to reach people that they don't want to be paid either. I mean, they've told me over and over, I do not want to be paid. In this Betty Swann Ministries, we give away about 97.6%, 97.4% away every year. And we keep the absolute minimum in administrative cost, as minimal as possible. But if you take a salary, that takes up a lot of the money that comes in.
Is this a realistic formula for other female entrepreneurs?
It is if they have another source of income. I don't think it's wrong to take a salary at all, but I think for me and people like me, they just don't want to do it. And my husband had a job, and we lived on that. He's retired, we live on that. We do fine.
You've got so much experience and wisdom under your belts. Tell us some philosophies that you've gathered along the way.
These are not just words. I have built my ministry by these. The first one that I really live by was some advice given to me when I first started being the head of something. Only do what only you can do. If someone else can do it, let them. And only do what only you can do. So that causes you to not do things that are time killers, that are not as effective, and you can pass on to someone else. And I teach that to people. Another one that has really impacted my life, maybe even the most, is to pray, let me reach my full potential before I die. I don't want to stand before God and say, I didn't do everything you wanted me to do, did I? And there's something about reaching your full potential that makes you stay open. Maybe that gives me energy, because I am stretched beyond anything I ever thought I would ever do. It is so far beyond that, but to tell you the truth, I don't think I'm even close to being done. Isn't that amazing? It's still going, it's getting bigger, so what do? Go longer rather than shorter, go deeper rather than wider, spend time as well as money, and do for one what you wish you could do for everyone. So that's kind of a four-part piece of wisdom. Take advantage of every open door, because you don't know where it could lead you, because I've experienced it. Sometimes the real door you want is beyond a little door that you don't particularly want. So you have to go through it. And I want to say this to the people watching this that are big dreamers. When you look at something and you think, could I do that? I would love to do that. Always say, why not me? It's got to be somebody. Why not me? I could do it. And then go for it.
So Betty, you are one small 5'2" woman from a small Texas town. You weren't handed this ministry on a silver platter. Tell us what this means for other women.
I am a little girl from a town in Texas of 11,000 people called Sweetwater, Texas. And then I grew up and married and lived in a town of about 200,000. But I was there for 38 years, being a wife, a mother, a grandmother, so on. And yet out of that, I got this dream that I could do this. And look at me now. If I can do it, you can do it.
Well, that wraps another inspiring episode for Women in Business. We hope that you have been inspired and that you female entrepreneurs feel spurred to make a difference where you stand. Again, I'm your host, Jeanette Eng, and you are watching BEN.